We all want to bring the Zoom back into our golden oldies. Mr. Binks is 14, and he was born with a joint condition that we've managed over the years with his raw food diet, choice supplements, and physical therapies. But I'm thrilled to have added Zoomies long-chain hyaluronic acid with added vitamin C simply into Mr. Binks's meals. Its role is being like a shock absorber in the synovial fluid. That's the natural joint oil found in hips, knees, and shoulders. It lets them glide rather than grind together and potentially causing pain. But the sad fact is, the body's HA production annoyingly depletes with age. And when his joints are sore, they break the HA down more quickly. Zumi has been created by vets, supporting all life stages and cats too. So find out more on my website, annawebb.co.uk, in the recommends page, and redeem your discount. Hello, I'm Anna Webb, and welcome to this week's episode of A Dog's Life. And we're chatting to the photographer, author, and massive dog lover, Jonathan Posner. And this episode is sponsored by Zoomy. Jonathan Posner, welcome to A Dog's Life.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a great honour, actually. I'm very, very flattered. Thank you.
Oh, don't be silly. But gosh, imagine my absolute joy, right, when the postman brought me this box, and I was thinking, what's in this? Gosh, it weighs a bit. You know, I was like that to get into the lounge, opened it up, and I'm like, wow. And it was your book. So, I mean, and all I'll say is this is got a very different type of photography book.
Well, it's many things, but depends which angle you're taking it from.
I mean, okay, so it's all about Hampstead Heath, really, or this is my interpretation. So, Jonathan, see what you think. So, Hampstead Heath, amazing. You know, I've lived in London, you know, all my grown-up life, and you know, it's always this place to go that had a magic or has a magic about it. But the wonderful thing is, you feel that you're lost in the country for about 15 minutes or so, and then suddenly you'll see this massive piece of sharp architecture that's in complete contrast to these old trees you've been walking through, and you're like, kind of, wow. So it's this like juxtaposition, isn't it, of
exactly that. Yes,
you know what I mean. And I loved something you said in the book, which I think is something like this, that you love going to the real countryside once you get there, but when you return back to Hampstead, you really know this is the country.
Yes. Well, it's you know, I think I write in the introduction that, you know, everybody loves the countryside in their mind, and then when they get there, sometimes they just want to come back. But Hampstead Heath does it all, really. It feels like the country, but it also feels like the city. So I love that mixture of possibilities there. Yes, of course.
And you know, so many, what's amazing about Hampstead Heath, I suppose, as well, for me, I mean, I love the history of London. I love that London has evolved over centuries, you know, from being completely burnt down at one point to, you know, surviving 2 world wars. And, you know, I'm in the east side of London, so you really see the bomb damage that was done. You know what I mean? Very clearly. Yes. You've got Victorian houses, and you've got not Victorian houses. So it's this very complex place. But with Hampstead Heath, you know, it's thinking everyone walks on Hampstead Heath. So you're walking a ground where so many famous people have walked, you know, from Dickens to Ian Fleming, artist Constable, you know, to Taylor Swift, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Posner, you know. To us all, really, and we're all kind of part. If everything's about the soil, then this soil and this land has got, you know, has seen so much.
Yeah, it's very special, and well, you can tell from you can tell from the book how special it is to me. All 635 pages of it.
I
Yes,
know it's a massive tune, but and Jonathan, your photography. So I see this as a celebration of Hampstead Heath, a real celebration of your art as photography, but of course, hugely the reason why you've taken these photographs and why you've captured what you've captured on the Heath is basically all because of Daisy, right?
correct. Yes, yes, completely. Yeah, she was the catalyst for it all, and brought things together for me in a way that I simply couldn't have conceived, before her, really. My photography was in a completely different field. It was in fashion photography, and it had never interested me really taking pictures of the Heath, which is where I was born, and maybe that's why. And it was only when the pandemic came that I realised that the Heath was more or less all I had, and I had the Heath, my camera, and my dog, and that's how this all came about. And it was a complete change in my life, as everybody's life changed. But this is the legacy that it brought me. This book, which has taken 4 years to put together.
Yeah, no, Jonathan. So also the book, I wasn't expecting this, that it is a real genuine story, really. And well, it's your thoughts, through seeing shots that, I think I've seen that shot, because it's just two people that, you don't know. You're not being voyeuristic or anything, but it's just you're taking the landscape shot and it's just people just on the Heath wearing maybe some bobble hats and a scarf or whatever, but
Yes.
everyone's seen that shot. So it, for me anyway, it really resonated. I felt I was just walking through Hampstead Heath going through the images, but it's in sections, isn't it? Like, and you have these interludes.
Yes, and yeah, the interludes are really where I can, bring out the photographs to their best, where they can get 2 pages to themselves each time. Um, and the other photographs are also kind of a commentary on some of the stories that I've written, and the reflections. And importantly, you used the word just now, resonate, and that's a word that I always bring up when I'm talking about the book, because I want this book to resonate with people, so that everybody will find something there that means something to them, or that they recognize. And that goes beyond recognizing, where the photograph was taken, which you pointed out, but also the thoughts that the Heath has conjured up, and walking with Daisy and being alone for an hour and a half every day. I'm hoping that there'll be something in this book for everybody, that it resonates with them. They may. My dog was a fairly small white dog. They may have a huge dog, and but there'll always be something, I think, that will resonate with them. They may not be particularly knowledgeable about photography, but again, I'm hoping that the way I use color and composition, people will go, "Aha, this is something I haven't seen before," and it has an emotional impact. So everything I've done in the book is about an emotional impact, or trying to engender that in other people. So I guess that's a short summary.
No, it's brilliant. And you draw attention in sort of the first story part of the first photo that you took, because you thought, right, I'm just going to go for a walk with Daisy and I'm just going to take my camera,
That's
and
right.
and the first photo, you draw attention to it. So I love that photo of the ferns. Do you know what it reminds me of, Jonathan? It's
Tell me.
because that's how it was, right? It hasn't been enhanced, has it, by color or anything? It's a stunning photo.
Yeah, well, it's yes, it is the first photograph that I took on this a 4 year journey, in which I took another 12,000 or so more, um, in order to get it down to the 300 or so in the book. But this was the very, very first one, and it suddenly struck me that this was worth taking, and even the week before I probably would have walked past it without noticing. But now that I was in this new, state of mindfulness where I had my camera and my dog and the heath, and I was allowed to do those three things, I started noticing things that I'd not noticed before. So this was the very first thing I noticed. It was a, brilliantly coloured fern, and I have a very colourful style, so I brought that to bear on it, and there we are. I think it's on page 254 for those that have the book already.
Yeah. Well, it just struck me that it could be a print for someone like the Designers Guild, on beautiful furniture. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's it. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of semi-abstract. So, yeah, that's an interesting idea. Maybe someone will take that up.
Well, it's, I think, actually, anyway, what do I know? But yes, it's definitely worth it. But it's, yeah, and it's that kind of moment of where it all began, I think, really. But, looking at Daisy as well, and the stories, there's one story that I really, kind of got my heart going a bit, in a
Uh,
sort of emotional way. I wonder if you're going to guess which section it is. You were talking about that sleep machine that you bought, and you took Daisy out on the heath. It was a lovely sunny day, and then you doze off. Do you know that bit?
yes, it's a chapter called. There's 48 little kind of essays and stories, but this is one that is called "We Dream Together." And yes, that's when I had this little sleep machine, and I took it out with me, and it has a sound effect of cicadas, and which transported me back to the Mediterranean and Greek islands and so on, and I dozed off with that, and I dreamt that well, I was semi-dreaming, but semi-awake, dreamt that I was with Daisy in a far-flung land, and it was yes, it's quite a poignant moment for us, for both of us, I think.
Yes, but that's kind of, in a way, the whole point of walking your dog, isn't it? To have these moments, no matter how small, a blade of grass, a twig, or what you call in there the up and down hill.
Yes, that's right. The up and down woods. Yes, it's there's names for everything. But the thing about walking your dog every day, especially if you're doing, I mean, one of the strengths of the book, which even though I say it myself, which could have come across as a weakness, is that we do the same route every single day. Mostly from laziness or routine, so you don't have to think about where you're going to go. And, if I wanted to do a book about heath photography, I'd have been going out at all times of day and lots of different parts of the heath. But this was just one route every day for 1,000 days. And this is what happened every day on 1,000 days. Something different happens. But because you do a routine walk, it allows other things to come into your mind. You switch off from exactly where you're going. You follow Daisy's fluffy white tail because she knows the way, and off you go, and thoughts and reflections enter, and you're free for your mind to wander completely. So that's kind of the theme of the book as well. It allows things to come in that you're not expecting to come in, and yeah, that's where it took me.
And it must have been such an interesting thing for you to found yourself doing through the pandemic, in a way. Was it, from busy, hectic, photographing different types of photos to just hanging out with Daisy?
Yes, it was totally unexpected. It was the last thing I'd ever would have expected to happen. That Daisy, my dog, could create this environment where I wanted to actually go out and take photographs of the heath, something that had never interested me before. I'm not, I don't consider myself a landscape photographer. I've never been that interested in landscape photography. But look, here we are. We've got a whole book of photographs that I haven't seen taken in this way, actually, of the Heath. And all started really by Daisy kind of forcing me out every single day on this routine to walk my dog, and all this other stuff sort of came into me now. So it was a very startling transformation. Yeah.
I think it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I love the section called the Crow People as well, because crows. I mean, we've got crows over here as well, and they are weird. Like, dogs can be a bit afraid of crows, and it always reminds me of the Hitchcock
Oh yeah,
film.
the birds. Yes,
Yeah, the birds. That's
wonderful film. Yes, that's
so
right.
scary. Yeah, they always remind me of that, and they do give you a bit of the creeps, I think.
Yeah, there was that. I mean, Daisy was fascinated. I mean, the Crow People's about a couple, a sort of a fairly loving couple who meander through the heath and they scatter bread for the crows. And Daisy, being a scavenger, would be rushing around trying to pick up all the bread for the crows. And at first it would really irritate me that Daisy was having to rush off and pick up scraps of bread. But then we came to terms with it all, and they were very sweet and gentle people, and we realised by the end of the story that there's room for all of us out there on the heath. And Daisy made her peace, and I made my peace with them, and it was all very harmonious. But yeah, they can be quite scary, those birds, if they take off very quickly. Yeah.
I know, and they've got long beaks, and now I've even seen my own bull terrier Prudence, hang fire
Oh,
away.
really?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I'm close actually to the Hackney Marshes, which, in a similar but different way to the Heath, has all of this going on there as
Of
well.
course, I'm sure it does. Yeah.
So, and it's just this great thing about going outside, I think, so we are, yeah, and that's the wonderful thing about dogs, really, Jonathan, that they legitimize you being able to go out because you have a purpose, because and
That's exactly right. Yes.
you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't feel weird walking anywhere, because I know I used to go on the heath before I had a dog, and I felt weird.
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that too, and it was purely then a kind of exercise thing. But then, when I got my puppy, and I'm sure you all know this from your own experience, everybody kind of almost comes out of the undergrowth and approaches you because you've got a dog, and they ask you about the dog, and um, they think that you're approachable and safe, especially if you're a man. Women come up to me, and they're totally fearless because they know that I've got a lovely dog, and that's what I'm, that makes me safe in their eyes, whereas no one would ever obviously want to approach me if I was just walking out on my own on the heath. So suddenly this whole social vista opens up, but it can be a bit much sometimes, as I also write in one of my stories, that one sometimes needs to get away from all these people who come up to you and start chatting about your dog.
That's where the trees come in, though. I think trees have a way of silencing people, actually, because if you do walk, in sort of very forested areas, I used to take my first bull terrier up to an area in Shropshire, right? And there were deer there quite close and all the rest of it. And I used to pretend we were the last of the Mohicans. So no one
Sweet.
else. No
How
one,
sweet. Yeah.
and you kind of get lost in the tree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. And there are, of course, very quiet, wooded bits along our walk. And you're right, the atmosphere does change, and there's a sort of a hushed reverence, I think, when one goes into these woods. So another beautiful aspect of the heath. Yes, it's got it all.
And it just does give you that sort of thing. You think, gosh, could Constable have looked at this tree? I bet he did. And is this
Yeah.
tree in any of his paintings? And that's, so it's kind of underlining the, time, I suppose. Time has changed, but the tree is still there.
Yeah, the tree is still there. The views are still there. Constable's views can still be seen. And it's, yeah, and you've got the Kenwood estate as well. So yeah, you've got a lot of timelessness about the Heath, as well as the modernity of, as I write about, always peeking through the trees, you'll see a skyscraper or something, but you can get all the old views as well. Yeah. So it's got everything.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, Jonathan. I've joined the Rawvolution at Naturaw because I know that not all raw food is created equal. I'm passionate about feeding dogs as nature intended. After all, you are what you eat, and so is your dog. At Naturaw, there are no compromises, no confusion, just real raw food made with integrity and a conscience, offering 100% transparency, supporting British farmers, and only using the highest welfare assured ingredients is so important. They're a certified B Corp and reduce their carbon footprint by utilizing solar power and planting trees. They only use completely plastic-free packaging that's home compostable. Prudence and Mr. Binks are simply loving their nutrient-dense and balanced recipes. So try Naturaw today. Just go to naturaw.co.uk and grab 20% off your first purchase with my code AnnaWebb20. Join the Rawvolution and feed exceptional raw food. Something else that sprung out when I was going through the book, which I couldn't believe, actually. Wait for it. Oh, I'm also a massive fan of Spiral, and I'm also
Wow.
in love with Gilou.
Oh, Chalou, yes.
I'll always be in love with Gilou.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So, but you mentioned Spiral in there. Now, just, what was the relevance of that? Because it's a detective series that's French and it's not airing anymore, and it's a tragedy because it was actually brilliant. But then maybe, it kept going a bit, but it was always good, I thought. Had you on the edge of your seat.
Well, yeah. Well, my background is in film and television. That's where I came from. I went back. I started in photography and went into film and television, and then came back to photography with fashion photography, and now this book. So I've always been interested in drama. I worked in TV drama, and so Spiral was one of those things, like you, that, and like a lot of people, that we tuned into when it came out, and there were several series. But in fact, what I write about is how towards the last couple of series, it got a bit disappointing for me. I didn't think they were as good as the first ones, but I used an illustration from Spiral to kind of about a wider point of life in general. That there was an episode of Spiral which I really didn't like, but in the middle of it, there was something quite special. There was a very short exchange which was quite magical, and it got me thinking that is actually what life can be like in general. Is that there can be a lot of monotony and dullness, and then all of a sudden there can be these little moments, these little vignettes almost of joy and pleasure and unexpected delight, and it just made me contemplate that life is full of these little moments, and sometimes we don't even recognize them at the time, and other people do. And so it's something that's I think needs to be discovered. Is these short moments that we have from time to time that turn out to be quite special. So here we had a quite, to my mind, you may disagree, but it was quite a dull episode. But in the middle, it was just a beautiful exchange of dialogue. And I thought, where did that come from? And then it just reminded me, well, actually, that's what life's like. We have these little moments that crop up, and it's up to us to recognize them.
Yes. Oh, no, I do get it. And I think those sorts of moments are much less than in the olden days, to be quite
Yes.
honest now. Because
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yes.
sadly. But yeah, no, I agree on Spiral. I remember there was the moment where the actress, who I can't remember her name, had her hair cut.
Oh,
For
yes. Caroline Proust, her name is. I think that's the actress, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. And then that kind of set a different tone for a little while. But oh gosh, I was absolutely devastated when it finished, I've got to say. And then it's been taken off, hasn't it? I
Yeah,
don't.
they finished it. I think there were eight seasons, and they eight series, and they finished them. Yeah, but I was perhaps unlike you. I was a bit disappointed with the last couple, and so hence that's where this little story came from. And I think the story is called "This Is What Our Lives Are" or something like that,
Mm.
if I remember correctly. But we can look that up later.
But yes, no, but it's full of thought-provoking moments, really, and it's, it's beyond a coffee table edition, I would say, Jonathan. And on the front cover, which I'm looking at right now, the whole world and his dog. I mean, it's brilliant. And there is Daisy looking absolutely. I mean, you capture her, don't you? I mean, there's photos she's just looking up, and there's subtle photos. They aren't awfully staged or anything, which I really like. Yes, she's very proud.
Yeah, it's very. She's every right to be, actually, having created this story for me. And this book only came about because of her. And one has to remember that. Yes, I was a photographer, but it was only Daisy that brought this out in me. So the book is dedicated to her, obviously, and but yeah, it's all down to her and what she did in my life and what she created for me, and gave me the space to do this. And for that, she's very, very special and lives on.
Yes, yes. I always say dogs are chapters in our lives, and I think with this, honestly, Jonathan, you've done Daisy proud because you've encapsulated your chapter in this. Yeah, I really, really recommend it, is what I'd like to also add.
Oh, thank you. And as I say, I think I'd like there to be something for everybody in this. Life is meaningful when we see other people's lives and say to ourselves, yeah, I know that feeling, or I've been there, or no one's expressed that before, but that's how I feel too. And I'm sure there'll be moments in the book, at least I hope there will be, where people can say, well, I never thought of it that way, but I feel that way too. And uh, so yeah, and the photographs, I think, are different. I don't think the Heath has been captured like this before. And one other thing to say, actually, I think it's the first book that's actually used the geolocator What Three Words, which is a marvelous app that divides the world into 9 meter squares, the whole world, surface of the Earth. But every photograph in the book has a What Three Words address, which means you can go straight to that straight to that photograph. If you like the look of a photograph, you can go straight there, have a picnic under that tree, or do a walk of all the photographs, because each photograph has a What Three Words address. So they're very, very easy to find. And for example, if there's a view of London that you like in the book, you can go to exactly the place where I took the photo. So
I
especially if
didn't
you.
know this. This is, I mean, there's me thinking this is all like really old fashioned and lovely and photographs in the book. But no, there's super technology
Yeah,
attached.
well, yes, there's technology attached. So that in the back there's an appendix with thumbnails of every photograph with
Oh, yeah, I saw
the
that.
What Three Words address, and especially if you're coming to the Heath for the first time, and maybe because you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I'd like to go to the Heath now. Oh, I've heard about this book and Anna talking about it, and you can now, instead of just aimlessly wandering around, you can actually go and visit all these photographs, or the ones you like, and go to the exact places where I took them and see what it looked like when I was taking them. And of course, the other thing is very important, is that you can meet people now anywhere. So you could meet people on by the tree and on page 336 and have a picnic there, and it will have a precise address that everybody will find you, and you don't have to say, oh, I'll meet you by the big tree on the top of the third hill, which means nothing. So anyway, that's just something else I brought to the book, just to bring people to the Heath and make it easier for them.
Absolutely brilliant. Interestingly, I did wonder what all the thumbnails were at the back. I just kind of thought it was a handy reference of some description to lead you back to where it was as part of a story or whatever. Actually, I had no idea it had this complexity attached. So that's fantastic, because you're right, how educational and interesting for people to explore.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful app, and it really will help people find the pictures in the book if that's what they want to do, or do a tour. There's an illustration of the whole route of the 1,000 days, and one can actually do that tour by using 3 words. So just another angle if people are that interesting. There's one other thing I should say, being a photographer, is there's also an appendix at the back for people who like the photographs and want to know more about photography or are interested in photography. And I've very humbly written, I think it's 42 things I've learned over my photographic career to help people, just to give back to people everything I've learned about photography. And I write about what I think is important and what isn't important. And so if people are interested in photography, I'm giving them some things that I've learned along the way in my career. So maybe there'll be people who'll be interested in that too. Let's hope so.
Absolutely. No, it is brilliant. I mean, it's like this sort of 3-pot book: photography, the Heath, and Daisy.
Exactly.
And you're also there in the background.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think I'm very much there, but
You are.
yeah, but
You are.
I do have some opinions. I have some fairly strong opinions, which come out in the book. About dog walkers, and people and hangers on who can be quite boring sometimes. So I don't hold back, but actually most of the writing is about tenderness, really, and emotion, and about what I feel when I'm walking and watching Daisy walk and experiencing my life alongside hers.
Absolutely, Jonathan. Thank you so much. It really is brilliant. It is a tribute, of course, to the wonderful Cavachon.
No, she's a Cavachon.
Cavachon.
It's Cavachon, yeah, cross between a Cavalier King Charles and a Bichon Frise. So
Yes.
a very happy, mischievous mixture, I have to say.
Very, very sweet. So all the links are going to be in the show notes. Thank you again.
Super. Thank you for having me.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go on, rate and review the show wherever you tune into your podcasts. Thanks again, of course, to Jonathan Posner for joining us, and all of the links to his amazing book that's called The Whole World and His Dog. Go on, please check it out. It really is different and amazing. Thanks, of course, to Mike for all the music and production as ever. And if you want to find out more about anything really about dogs, then please go to my website, but go to the recommends page where you might be able to redeem your discount from Naturaw or Zumi and Antonol. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe, because it's absolutely free, and that way you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.